Okay, let's get real for a second. Parenting kiddos with ADHD is exhausting. And some days just thinking about talking to a therapist feels impossible. That's why I love Talkspace. Here's the game changer. You can text or chat with a licensed therapist whenever you need. No waiting rooms, no awkward, hi. No forcing yourself to talk out loud when your nervous system is already shot. Just real support on your time in your space. If you're shy, anxious, overstimulated, or just flat out done speaking, this is life-changing. You type, they respond, and suddenly support is literally in your pocket. And the practical mom part? Talkspace accepts most insurance. The average copay is around $15, and a lot of insured members pay $0. No insurance? Still covered. You can get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. So if you've been thinking, I need help, but I can't even, this is your sign. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com and save $80 with code SPACE80. Less guilt, more support. That's the energy we're bringing into 2026. If you've ever ended the day completely exhausted, but also somehow unsure what you actually did all day, this episode is for you, my friend. Because the chaos isn't just the mess. It's the remembering, the tracking, the 47 invisible tabs open in your brain at all times. And today's guest, well, she saw that problem years before most people had a name for it. Amy Briggs is a speech-language pathologist turned founder, which means she understands communication, cognitive load, and family dynamics at a level that goes way deeper than just try a better planner. She's worked directly with families, watched parents burn out in real time, and realized something huge. Parents don't need more advice. We need better systems. That realization led her to create Aviva, an app designed to reduce mental load, not add to it. And if you're an ADHD parent who's allergic to anything that feels like homework, you're going to want to hear how and why this one is different. My mind has been blown since the interview. This episode is part of our New Year Less Chaos series, where we're not chasing perfection or pretending January magically fixes executive dysfunction. We're talking real support, realistic tools, and ways to make family life feel a little less overwhelming and a lot more doable. So grab your caffeine and let's talk about what less chaos can actually look like with Amy Briggs. Amy, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm so happy to be here.
So you are a very unique guest to the podcast and probably the perfect one for our New Year Less Chaos campaign. So do you mind telling our listeners a little bit about your journey?
Sure, I would be happy to. So I am a mom, first of all. So I come at everything I do professionally from my own lived parenting journey. And professionally, I am a speech language pathologist by trade, and I've worked in public schools and had a private practice of my own and have served many, many, many wonderful children and families over the course of my career, and really always is very passionate about supporting parents, building capacity for them, leveraging everything that I knew as therapeutic benefit to households and classrooms and places where I might not be all the time. And I took all of that learning and funneled it into an app I am the founder and CEO of called Aviva, which is new to the market in the last 3 months. And Aviva takes all of your email, automatically turns them into events on your calendar without you having to do the work. So long, circuitous journey, probably, like you said, different than many other people, but very excited to be here and to bring all of that different expertise to our conversation today.
So that sounds perfect for my ADHD brain because I forget. There's a misstep in there for me getting it from my email to my actual calendar. So I'm wondering, when along your journey of being a speech language pathologist, did you decide parents need this type of support? Was there like an aha moment?
Yeah, I think it was so many aha moments that I just couldn't ignore them anymore. And really, the start of the journey, I guess, was I had very young kids myself. I was making the transition from working in public schools, which I had always done, to opening my own private practice just as the country was kind of coming out of COVID. So it was a really unique moment when I think we could all probably agree that parents were under some undue and unique pressures, having been the hub for everyone's everything and education and safety and whatever. And it was a really unique time because everyone had been home for a very long period of time. And many parents, even as we kind of came out of COVID, at least where I was working in the suburbs of Chicago, were still working at least mostly remotely, if not fully remotely. So I was going into people's homes and I was, instead of seeing maybe just the child or maybe occasionally a parent, the whole family was home. And I really got this very unfiltered view of what modern parenthood was like day to day for other parents outside of my own household, but in as intimate a way as I saw behind the curtain at my house.
Yeah.
And what really started to stand out to me and struck me was every time I was going to someone's home, our initial interaction was beginning with this like litany of apologies. I'm so sorry my home is messy. I'm so sorry I forgot to give them a snack before you got here. I'm so sorry I didn't remember you were coming. Like we have to reschedule. And what I saw as a professional, first of all, these things to me were all very relatable. I'm a parent too. Like the same things were happening at my house. My kids also make messes with their toys. My kids also need a snack periodically throughout the day. All of this is just like, well, of course, you're a parent raising young children and you've been under these really strange adverse circumstances. And, you know, there's nothing to apologize for here. And you're an incredible parent. You've arranged support for your child who's struggling. Like, I'm here because you're such a good mom. And the fact that people couldn't see that or give themselves that credit really hit home with me. So my days would end. I would come home to like the mental load and chaos of my own household. And by the time we had gotten our own children to bed and my husband and I would like make it to the couch, I would just be talking about, and reflecting on what I had seen and what I had heard during the days and in my conversations with and how meaningful these conversations about all of the extra noise and kind of busyness around not even what I was there to do therapeutically, but everything else was a conversation I found myself in all the time and was really, I started to see standing in parents' ways, really getting in the way of what made us want to be parents in the first place, standing in the way of connection, standing in the way of joy, standing in the way of the experiences of parenthood that, given my professional background, I knew were most meaningful. And all of this other stuff and this striving for like a level of perfection that's unattainable and jobs to be done and mental load was really just too much. Like the system wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that it was broken, like there was none. and I started to really become passionate about figuring out a way to solve any part of that invisible mental load that I could to help to scale the help that I envisioned for families in a way that I couldn't as a clinician. So that's kind of how the idea for Aviva was born.
I am curious if your professional background influenced the app in any way outside of being a parent.
100%. So one of the things that I was really focused on clinically throughout my career has been executive function. So, as anyone listening will know, and I'm sure many of your listeners are very familiar with this term, executive function you could think of as like the conductor of the orchestra of your brain, like the big boss who's getting everyone else in line. And this is something that so many of the children on my caseload when I had a busy clinical practice, struggled with from a wide variety of diagnoses, but certainly it is a hot topic if you have ADD or ADHD.
Yeah.
So, leveraging all of this research that I had done over the course of my career to help individual children or individual families build out systems that supported executive function, and all the research that I did about cognition and how people experience passage of time or future ideation or things like that were all interwoven into very intentional choices in how everything progresses within the app, how we represent things. And really, I should back up and say one of my biggest missions was how do I do a job so well and so fully that I've really taken meaningful work off someone's plate? That it's not just lip service, that it's not prettier looking, that it's not any of that surface level, that I really could do a job for someone. And one of the big jobs of Aviva is anticipating needs. And one of the big struggles I think of in executive function is like that next step and next step and next step of what's going to need to happen as the plans progress. So that's been a huge driver of how I've designed Aviva. And I'll say, like, my sort of personal take on things is if you design tools for a unique brain, like an ADHD brain, it's going to be better for everyone. It's going to be more intuitive for like it's good for the group. It's necessary for some, right? But like those tools are good for everyone to experience. So I designed it that way intentionally.
So take us through it. Tell me what exactly Aviva would do for me as a busy ADHD mom raising a busy ADHD kiddo.
Love it. Well, how is your kiddo?
He's 10.
Okay. And what is he interested in besides the things he has to do like school?
Well, he is 100% not interested in school.
Okay.
Um, he loves basketball, he loves sports of any kind, and he is a video game connoisseur.
Amazing. Okay, so Aviva would start out by getting your permission to link your Gmail account to the app. And once that was done, you would set parameters that you would choose, like any kind of video gaming events that he was going to, basketball practice, basketball games, updates from the coaches, newsletters from school, early dismissals, late arrivals, snow days, etc., etc. You would let us know what was important for you as a family. And after that onboarding, which, in a long case scenario is about 5 minutes, so not a lot of time, the app will automatically find information from your email inbox that we know now that you need and schedule it for you in the app and on your connected calendar. So if you opened up your phone calendar or your Gmail elsewhere, or it was on a skylight, it would populate it for you. So instead of you having to sit with your email and search through, like, where is the basketball practice today? Even if you never opened the email that came from the coach, that information would be extracted. It would be created into a calendar event. And then the notes section, like the description of the event, would only be the part of that email you actually needed to read. Practice is, we actually have basketball practice today, so this is very timely. My daughter's just started basketball, so I just got this in my Aviva calendar right before our call. Coach email today, practice date. I'm going to be there half the time, and a sub coach is going to be there half the time, and this is where we're meeting. And, everyone needs their jerseys for the game on Saturday. Only the information you need, not all of the other noise, is there. And our coach, for example, sent out, and just in case anyone wants, there were like 5 emails in the thread. Just in case anyone wants to know when the games are this season, here are all the games. And then there was another email. Just in case anyone wants to know, these are the times when we would be in playoffs if we get to playoffs. So you can save the date. And all of that, before I opened that email, was calendared by Aviva automatically. No job for me. I check it because I obsessively check it because I want to make sure it gets everything right, because that's my job as the founder. But that's essentially what it's doing. From there, it goes a few steps further. It sets reminders for you proactively for things we know that you will be likely to forget. You get a birthday party invitation. That's then, not now. A week ahead of time, we're going to let you know you have a birthday party next week. You might want to think about a gift. You might need to plan a carpool. there's an early dismissal from school. That's next month. We're going to let you know ahead of time. Hey, early dismissal is coming up. You might need to rethink your childcare plan. You might need to rethink your transportation so that you can stay on top of those things without always having to do it yourself. And then the third layer is we flag conflicts. So if you are thinking you want to go to things, or you get a new invitation, or you're signing up for camp or a new sport or a different league, you can see at a glance where those dates and times fit in with what you have. And you can see very quickly if things conflict and you need to rearrange your schedule, or, cancel one event or make changes accordingly. And it'll show you both this event has a conflict and what's conflicting with it.
Very nice. You said something in there about my best friend also has ADHD, and every single time the kids are out of school, she forgets, or like early pickup. And I thought about her when you said that, because she and I could really, really, really use that feature. That sounds so helpful and perfect for my scattered brain.
Yeah, our goal is really, like I said, to help all parents. And I think of the help in sort of two different buckets. One bucket is none of us have any extra time at our disposal. In fact, I think most parents you would ask don't feel they have enough time. It's like a resource we never have enough of.
Yeah.
So spending all this time finding the dates, getting it in the calendar, getting all the information correct, like making sure it's shared with the appropriate parties, that all takes time that we don't have. And it's time spent on a parenting task that's actually not building any connection, any esteem in our role as parents, any fun, any joy, none of that. No one enjoys doing it, but we have to. So there's like that time suck on something that we don't want to be doing in the first place, but we just have to. And then there's this invisible component of it that is the constant anxiety and worry about, like, I know I always miss mystery reader sign up. I know I'm going to forget early dismissal. Or first, in my personal experience, I know there's something that's in email that I don't see. Something is going to sneak up on me, whether it's this week or this month. There is something there that is going to turn our at least morning, if not day, if not week, into a fire drill that doesn't feel good, right? It's like, what am I missing? What am I forgetting? And I think that stress, again, is taking us out of our intention to be present, our desire to be, connected with ourselves, our partners, our children, our work, our hobbies, whatever it might be. That is really the big enchilada of parenting. It's standing in the way.
Yeah. Parenting neurodivergent kiddos feels like trying to build IKEA furniture blindfolded sometimes. You know there's a manual, but it's all in Swedish. That's exactly why I want to spotlight Insight Family Market. They aren't another generic store. They're a curated marketplace built by someone who's literally been in the trenches as an educator and parent, selecting tools that actually make daily life more manageable for real families. From sensory-friendly clothing and adaptive tools to educational supports and wellness essentials, everything is chosen with a family-first mindset. No clinical jargon, no guessing what might help. What I love is that it's not about selling you a quick hack. It's about offering thoughtful, quality products that help create more calm, more confidence, and more actual functioning in chaos. Whether that's at mealtime, bedtime, homework, or quiet moments between the noise. If you are exhausted from chasing solutions and just want a place where the gear feels like it was picked by someone who gets it, Insight Family Market might be that stop on your journey. I agree. And researching you for this interview, I seen that you kind of referenced the mental load and how Aviva steps in. And I obviously cannot think for a neurotypical because I am not. But even for people who do not have scattered brains, this seems like perfect tech partner coming in and saying, hey, you don't have to double check or triple check anymore. I've got it. And it sounds like I need it. I know you said you've just launched. Do you have any feedback from parents who have already went through or individuals in general?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So before we launched, we did a ton of what is like technically called customer discovery. But as I came up with the idea, the first thing I did was talk to any parent and every parent I could about what is this like for you? What does it feel like to do your schedule? How do you do it? Who's involved? How much time does it take? How do you feel about doing it? All of that. And then I actually built out a prototype of the app myself before I ever hired a developer or any kind of technical partner to help me build what is now scalable and in the App Store. I built a version that was really manual, that was not something that I could ever, sell or scale, but that did the core promise consistently so that I could see, like, does this actually work for people? Does it actually help? And even with that manual version that I created, so I had people in for 2-week trials. When I had this, I called it my alpha prototype. People were saving 4 hours a week very consistently.
Wow.
And they were telling me, you know what? I never would have seen this one date that was really important to me, but it was in a newsletter with 45 other dates that if I'm lucky, I open and I skim, right? Like
Yeah.
I would have totally missed this like special activity that my kids were going to go to and I could attend and watch. I didn't even know it was happening, but Aviva put it on my calendar. Or I felt like this was feedback that we got consistently and still do that I really love. I feel like I have a safety net for my plans. I feel like I'm not going to have to worry about dropping a ball because there's this extra layer of checking that like my partner and I don't have to do now.
Mm.
Um, Feeling like the balls weren't going to drop, feeling like I know when registration is happening. I don't know about everyone's demographic, but certainly everywhere that my husband and I have lived since we've had kids, registration mornings, it's a very tight window. And if you miss it, you're not getting into that activity. Like if you miss the camp sign up, you're on a wait list. And when it comes to things like that, I think that's a really stressful ball to drop. And it's not just the logistics, right? It's like all the feeling of, I'm not a good mom because I didn't do this, or what am I going to do now? And I'm going to feel like I'm not a good parent because I have to put my kids in a camp that they don't want to go to, or I have to come up with some other childcare plan that's not ideal. So I think saving people from those kinds of moments is really, what keeps me going.
So you kind of took the next question right out from under me, but yes, saving time and the mental load is all fantastic. But your example in there from your trial of someone not missing this really exciting thing with their kids, to me, is even more important. So, from your child developmental lens, why is reducing the overwhelm so important for our kids and our parenting journey?
This is such a great question. I think if you really take away all of the thousands of things we all do in a week to support our children as parents, and you boil down what actually makes a good parent, if we're talking about like what actually moves the needle, what actually do children need to develop and flourish and thrive? It's connection, it's love. It's obviously meeting their basic needs like food and shelter and things like that and safety. But like the connection piece is a huge piece. And there's a preponderance of research paints a very clear picture that when parents are well resourced, when parents are happy and satisfied, their kids are better resourced and their kids are happy and satisfied. I
Mm.
think it's really, really, really hard, if not impossible, to pour from an empty cup. So if everything that we're having to do just to get by or to comply with what we feel are like the mandated logistics of our life as a parent deplete us so far that we don't have any extra bandwidth, then we're going to miss the little moments every day, not the big stuff, not the birthdays, the like being able to sit and look at your kid's face during breakfast while you and your children and your partner are all home for those 10 minutes, maybe at the beginning of the day. If your family's like mine, it's short.
Yeah.
and being able to hear what they have to say and watch their faces or let them tell us about what they dreamed about last night or share an idea or share something with them about us. These little things, or like, not miss a moment where something like silly happens that wasn't supposed to happen. Like someone dropped something, or like my daughter the other day opened the garbage can and she was about to throw away a metal spoon. She was like, "Oh, look what I was doing. I was about to throw away the spoon." I was just present with her. I wasn't distracted, and we shared a laugh. It wasn't a big deal, but like those little moments, like I know from my lens in childhood development, that's what accumulates to a feeling of connection and bond and security and love, these things that are really foundational to any other growth or development that kids are going to do. And to be honest, like that are foundational to the experience of parenthood, I hope that parents can have. That's what I wish for parents.
Yeah.
I want parents to have time and bandwidth for the good stuff,
Mm.
not just there's plenty of, hard, there are plenty of logistics, there's a lot to hold, there's a lot to manage. Parenting is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot. But there's also so much that's fun and light and wonderful and exciting and lovely. And I don't want people to miss those little swaths of time when that's happening.
Yeah. Ooh, I just had a light bulb moment. Maybe it's all parents. We're all like busy and all of that, but like you hear the stories. Hopefully, my kid doesn't have one of these one day of like your parents didn't show up for the teacher conference, or, my dad missed my game. And you always think, or I always think, those stories are about work, but I just realized that they might be about ADHD. And then how wonderful it would have to be something to step in and fill in the gap so that my kid doesn't have one of those traumatic therapy couch stories later.
And what's so funny, like if you talk to people about, because this was part of my research, and this was the sample of parents that I spoke to. So this is not like a randomized control trial study like the research that I spoke about, which is, there are some unequivocal themes that have emerged there over a huge body of research and data. But in my experience of talking to hundreds of parents, when I ask them about memories of their own childhood and something like that, usually those stories were told with a lot of levity and they weren't holding on to it in a way that was like bound by shame or guilt. But when I asked them about something they forgot as a parent, those stories were bound by shame and guilt. Those stories felt really heavy. I had parents I talked to whose kids were adults who were relaying something that they were really tightly still holding about, a preschool event that they missed. Their child is probably not even thinking about that anymore, right?
Yeah.
But as a parent, the feeling of dropping that ball felt so bad and so shameful that like that's going to be a part of that person's narrative of who they are as a parent probably forever.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting too. And I always joke with my husband, we try so hard, of course, like to raise our children in the most like enlightened way we possibly could and to give them the best life, as I'm sure everyone listening does, because we all want the best for our children. Um, but we're like, you know what? It's whack-a-mole. It's problem whack-a-mole. Like they're going to be on the couch talking about something we did that we probably even don't even realize we're doing. It's that stuff. It's not like the day we forgot to bring cookies to the bake sale.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be the one pencil that I threw away that meant everything.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So this is an audio only podcast, but this is a funny, relevant story. I actually live in the South. I know you can hear the accent, and it's usually not cold here. And all of a sudden, we were in like a cold blast, and my skin is revolting. Like my face is dry and itchy and red. And I woke up Saturday morning before my son's game, and I was like, oh my God, I can't go to your game. And then I thought, oh, if I don't go to the game, I'll be a crap mom. And then it kind of like dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute, how do you feel about me showing up to the game all scratchy and itchy and red? He's like, Mom, nobody cares about your face. So hopefully that will give somebody out there some relief that our kids really, they don't care as long as, we get it right eventually. So
Yeah, and I love that you asked him.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's especially like your son is 10, my oldest daughter is 9. I think as our kids are growing, but not, you don't have to wait until they're teenagers or fully formed adults. Start to ask them, what
Yeah.
do you wish it felt like, in the morning at our house? Or like, what means the most to you? I read something recently about someone who had a really big job and it was really hard for her to carve out time in her workday to go to any of her kids' events. And so she was very strategic and only went to the kids' events or signed up for things when her children would physically see her there. So, like the sports games, the class parties, but she never did any kind of background work. So, like, she would not coordinate the event because her kid didn't see her doing that work and she didn't have time to do both.
Yeah.
So, she only chose the ones where, like, her could physically see her there, which I thought was an interesting take on it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, you don't have to do everything all the time. And I think gauging if you're doing it for your child, like ask them. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to come to your game? Do you care if I'm in a baseball cap because my face is uncomfortable?
Well, actually, I probably wouldn't have thought to ask him, but he is 10 and very opinionated. He was like, Mom, something's wrong with your face. Yes, thank you for your observation. I'm very aware. Thank you, though.
Oh man.
So, Amy, I would love for you to tell people how they can find Aviva. I'm sure it's in the App Store, as you mentioned, and then any other information you want to relay before we close it out.
Sure. So I would love to connect with any parents listening. If you have questions or ideas or want to try the app for yourself, any of the above. I really am building this from my own lived experience and for real parents, and I want it to benefit people. So I welcome and appreciate and I'm grateful for any kind of feedback. You can find the app itself if you want to give it a try in the App Store and Play Store. We always start with a 14-day free trial with full functionality because we want people to be able to experience what this actually does to see if it's a fit for them before they're paying for it. So that's always an option. And then you can find more information about our backstory, our why, kind of more about the brand on our website with aviva.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at @with_Aviva. And we would love to connect with you in any and all of those places.
Very nice. And of course, I will link all of that in the show notes for our listeners. So
Great. Thank you so much.
we've talked about some really good nuggets. And so if it's one of those that we've already mentioned, that's fine. But for the New Year Less Chaos campaign, I'm asking guests if families could do one thing differently this year for less chaos and hopefully more connection. What do you think that would be?
I love this question. I love less chaos and more connection. And I feel like the new year too often frames things as like additive. So I love that this is taking away some of the chaos. We could all use a little bit less chaos.
Yes.
So I would say do a quick audit, either with your partner, depending on how old your children are, or as a family, and just answer some simple questions. What system do we currently have in place for our calendar and our schedule? If there isn't one or someone's holding it mentally, put any system in place. Something repeatable will be better than nothing. If you have a system, how can we automate it? How can we make it easier? How can we digitize it? What other tools are available? And then third thing I would say, this sort of sounds like antithetical advice to making things less chaotic, but hear me out. Calendar things that you right now think are not worthy of going on your calendar. Get everything on there. Maybe it's travel time, which you can automatically do in your Google Calendar. Like set yourself up for success with the travel time. Maybe it's, a reminder. Calendar it so you don't have to just remember it or so it's not in some disjointed app somewhere else that doesn't connect to your calendar the way Viva does. Like if it's in your notes app, it's probably lost. It's not coming back to you. Calendar it as an event when you have free time. Calendar fun things so that you have something to anticipate and look forward to. Calendar and block off time for yourself, which I know is something that many people recommend, but like really sit down and do it. Give yourself permission to have some time that's blocked off, that's protected, that is for what you actually enjoy, that fills your cup and makes you resourced as a parent. And then when you have all these things, Then I would say your next audit in a couple of months is what doesn't serve us here? What can we lose? Where are we busier than we want to be? What didn't feel good when we did it? Or like what would have been fun if we had gone or we had added it? I think those kinds of, when you have a view of everything, you can make choices about your time. And I think everyone feels a decrease of chaos when they can be intentional and feel like they have control over their schedule rather than like they're a victim of their schedule happening to them. That would be my tip.
I love that so much. I believe it is, I'm trying to think, I think it's Ed Milet who says that he schedules phone calls with his children. And you don't think about it, but if you don't schedule it, you don't do it. So I love that you put fun things on there because sometimes we get lost in that and forget those things.
And it's so easy to miss them. We have too much else to do.
Agreed. Amy, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to talk with you, Danielle, and I appreciate you having me as a guest.
As we wrap up, I want you to hear this clearly. If your brain feels full all the time, that's not a personal failure. That's what happens when too much responsibility lives in one exhausted nervous system. What I love about Amy's work and about Aviva is that it doesn't assume parents need fixing. It assumes that we're already doing too much. Girl, that is exactly what our New Year Less Chaos series is about. We're not bringing a more organized version of ourselves, not finally getting it together, but building support systems that actually work with the way real parents, especially ADHD parents, function. If today's episode made you feel seen, validated, or even just a little less alone, I highly recommend checking out Aviva. We'll link it in the show notes, of course, so you can explore it in a way that feels manageable, no pressure, no perfection required. While you're there, please do all of the things for the algorithm gods, like, subscribe, leave us a review, 5 stars obviously. Definitely leave me a comment and tell me what you're always forgetting to put on your schedule. But most importantly, I need you to share it with all of the stressed out parents in your life, because that's what this is all about. And remember, less chaos doesn't mean a quiet house or a color-coded calendar. Sometimes it just means fewer things living rent-free in your head. That's it for this week on Chaos and Caffeine. I'm Danielle, and I'll see you next week, where we'll be choosing support over burnout, one honest conversation, and coffee at a time. Can we be honest for a second? If the words school stress make your eye twitch, same. Because traditional school plus ADHD plus already fried nervous systems, phew, that's chaos we did not sign up for. That's why I love Me Academy. It's an online learning platform that lets kids learn at their own pace. No rushing, fewer power struggles, and way fewer homework meltdowns. Yes, please. As a mom, I love that it offers structure without rigidity and learning without wrecking our relationship with our kids. They can rewind lessons, pause when their brain taps out, and actually understand the material. If your 2026 goal is less chaos and more peace, this one actually delivers. Check out meacademy.co to learn more and start your trial for just $1.99. Me Academy isn't about perfect school. It's about school that works for real life.